The clang of metal echoed inside a dim, grease-stained garage on the outskirts of the city. Musa, a wiry mechanic in his late 40s, hunched over a rusty sedan, his hands rough and calloused, worked steadily with a set of tools so old that the chrome had long since faded, leaving patches of rust. To an outsider, it looked pitiful, like watching a man fight a battle with weapons from another era. But Musa's eyes carried the determination of someone who had been underestimated his entire life. Cars lined up outside his workshop, not because of the shine of his equipment, but because of the shine of his reputation. He could bring dead engines back to life with the precision of a surgeon. Still, when people saw the tools, hand-me-downs from his late father, tools that had been with him since boyhood, they laughed. But Musa never cared. Or, at least, he tried not to. One scorching afternoon, a black SUV rolled up to the garage, its paint reflecting the sun like polished obsidian. Out stepped two young men, both in designer clothes, both smirking like they owned the world. They were brothers, Tund and Segan, heirs to a wealthy auto parts empire. They had been raised in privilege, knowing nothing of struggle, sweat, or survival. They'd heard of the legendary Musa and had come not to honor him, but to make a show. Is this the so-called genius mechanic? Tund sneered, looking at Musa's battered toolbox. This? With that junk? Segan laughed, pulling out his phone. Perfect. This is going online. Let's show everyone what kind of wizard works with tools older than Nigeria's independence. The phone camera started rolling. Uncle, fix this car, Segan said mockingly, tossing his keys at Musa. The luxury car gleamed, a symbol of their arrogance. Musa caught the keys, his face expressionless. I can fix it, he said quietly. But as he opened his rusted toolbox, laughter erupted. The brothers zoomed in on the worn-out spanners, the cracked ratchet, the screwdriver with duct tape around its handle. Ladies and gentlemen, Segan announced into his camera, this is what happens when you refuse to move with the times. Old tools, old man, old tricks. Within hours, the video spread online. Comments poured in. How embarrassing. Retire, old man. No wonder the country's behind. Look at this. Musa fixed their car perfectly, but nobody cared. They only remembered the laughter. The humiliation reached every corner of Musa's small world. His children came home from school, silent and ashamed. Customers avoided his garage, afraid of being seen at the shop that had become an internet joke. Even suppliers started hesitating to work with him. The once bustling garage grew quiet. Musa sat alone in the dim light, staring at his father's tools. For the first time, doubt crept into his heart. Maybe they were right. Maybe he was nothing but an old man with old junk. One evening, as Musa prepared to close the shop, a stranger walked in. She was dressed simply, with a camera bag slung over her shoulder. I saw what happened online, she said. Her voice carried neither pity nor mockery, just calm curiosity. I don't need sympathy, Musa muttered. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm a producer for Fix It Nigeria, a new live TV competition for mechanics. I came to invite you. Musa's head shot up. Me? Why? Because while everyone was laughing at your tools, I noticed your hands and the way you fixed that car in the video. You worked with precision, like an artist. At first, Musa refused. He wasn't a performer. He wasn't someone who thrived under bright lights and cameras. He was just a man who fixed cars to survive. But that night, his eldest daughter, Aisha, sat beside him. Papa, she said softly, they mocked you, but you always taught us that real strength isn't in what you hold. It's in how you use it. Prove them wrong. On live TV, show them who you are. Musa's jaw tightened. His children's faith weighed heavier than his doubts. He said one word, yes. The competition day arrived. The venue was massive, filled with bright lights, cameras, and an eager audience. Contestants from all over the country stood beside gleaming toolkits, brand new power drills, high-tech diagnostic machines. And then there was Musa, standing with his rusty box. His presence drew laughter instantly. There he is. The viral joke, someone shouted from the crowd. Even the judges smirked, except one. The chief judge, Engineer Okoro, a a respected veteran in the automotive industry, whose sharp eyes seemed to see deeper than the rest. The challenge: fix a dead engine in under 30 minutes. Competitors rushed to their high-tech kits, pulling out tools that gleamed under the spotlights. The air buzzed with the sound of drills, scanners, and pneumatic wrenches. Musa, meanwhile, crouched quietly. His old wrench squeaked as he turned it. His screwdriver slipped but steadied. He moved slower, but every move was deliberate. Laughter echoed again. "Look, Grandpa's doing archaeology." But Engineer Okoro leaned forward. His eyes narrowed, studying Musa's hands. Minutes passed. Sweat dripped. Engines roared to life one by one across the arena. Musa was still working in silence. The cameraman zoomed in on him. The crowd booed. But then, Virum, Musa's car came alive. Smooth, perfect. While others had noisy, sputtering starts, Musa's engine purred like new. The judges checked. "This is remarkable. The calibration is exact, even better than most." The laughter faltered. Whispers replaced it. That night, Musa's name trended again. But this time, the comments were different. Wait, did the old man just outdo the rest? Respect. Skill over gadgets. This guy is a legend. The brothers who mocked him watched in disbelief. Their joke had just turned into the beginning of something far bigger than they ever imagined. And Musa, for the first time in years, felt his dignity returning. Despite Musa's surprising success in the first challenge, whispers of doubt lingered. Commentators on TV dismissed it as luck, and the crowd murmured that he couldn't last against younger, stronger competitors. In the contestants' lounge, a rival named Chuka, a brash, muscle-bound mechanic with flashy tools, approached Musa. "Nice trick, old man," Chuka sneered, "but don't think you'll survive the next round. This isn't your rusty garage. This is the big league." Musa said nothing. He had learned long ago that silence was the sharpest reply to arrogance. Back home, Musa's children gathered around the flickering TV, eyes glued to the broadcast. His youngest son, Kabir, clutched his school bag tightly. "Papa will win, right?" he whispered. Aisha, the eldest, put on a brave face. "Of course. He's the best." But deep inside, she worried. If Musa failed, it wouldn't just be a personal loss. It would confirm every cruel word people had hurled at their family. The shame would double. The next task was announced: rebuild a damaged suspension system in 45 minutes. Contestants rushed to shiny toolkits filled with hydraulic lifts, electric torque wrenches, and precision gauges. Musa had none of these luxuries. He crouched on the floor, using a bent spanner and a wooden wedge he carved quickly from a scrap plank. The audience gasped in disbelief. "Is he serious?" Someone laughed. "Would in 2025? But Musa's hands moved with confidence. Every strike, every turn was measured. As the timer ticked, the camera zoomed in on Musa's sweat-streaked face. Online commentators exploded. "Give him modern tools at least. He's embarrassing himself. This is painful to watch." The crowd began, chanting, "Quit! Quit! Quit!" But Musa refused to look up. His father's voice echoed in his memory. "Tools don't fix cars, son. Hands do." When the judges inspected the suspensions, most contestants had rushed, leaving bolts loose and alignment slightly off. Chuka boasted loudly, certain of his victory. Then they reached Musa's car. The judges pushed, tested, leaned, and their brows lifted. Flawless alignment. Not a single vibration. Gasps spread. Musa had outperformed even the best-equipped contestants. The crowd's mockery wavered. Doubt crept into their laughter. In their mansion, Tund and Segan fumed as they watched live. "This is impossible," Tund spat. "He's making us look like fools." Segan clenched his fists. He was supposed to be the joke. We gave him fame by mocking him, and now he's stealing it. No, he has to fail. We'll make sure of it. They made a call. Plans began to stir. That night, as contestants rested, Musa remained behind, quietly oiling his tools. He believed in preparation, not boasting. From the shadows, Chuka appeared with 2 assistants. "Still playing with antiques, old man?" he mocked. But his eyes glinted with something darker. When Musa finally left, unseen hands tampered with his toolbox, loosening bolts, dulling edges, making sure his tools would fail him at the worst possible moment. The next morning's task was brutal. Assemble a working engine from scattered parts in 60 minutes. Contestants dove in. Wrenches clicked. Drills buzzed. Musa reached for his spanner, only for the head to slip off. He frowned, tried another tool, it bent in his hand. The crowd roared with laughter. Finally, the old junk breaks. Even the judges looked sympathetic. Failure seemed inevitable. Musa's heart raced. Sabotage was clear, but giving up wasn't in his blood. He scanned the room, his eyes sharp. He spotted discarded metal rods near the scrap pile. With lightning improvisation, Musa reshaped them into makeshift tools. The camera zoomed in, disbelief etched across every face. He worked like a man possessed, hands moving faster than ever, sweat dripping into his eyes. His children watched from home, clutching one another in fear and hope. And then, Virum, Musa's engine roared to life, smooth and steady. The crowd went silent, then erupted into cheers. The judges stood in awe. You didn't just build an engine, you built tools to build the engine. This is mastery beyond measure. Musa's competitors stared, stunned. The sabotage had backfired spectacularly, turning humiliation into triumph. Social media exploded again, but this time the tone had shifted completely. This man is a legend. Skill over sabotage. Never underestimate an underdog. And in that moment, Musa's journey changed. He was no longer the joke. He was the story. At their mansion, Tund and Segan paced angrily. Musa's triumphs had gone viral. Memes of his rusty tools turned into symbols of resilience. This wasn't supposed to happen. Segan shouted, smashing glass on the floor. We made him famous to humiliate him, and now he's stealing everything from us. Tun leaned forward, eyes cold. Then we stopped playing games. If the crowd loved his old tools so much, let's take them away. Strip him of his weapon and he's finished. That night, Musa walked home through the dim streets. A stranger stepped out of the shadows. It was Engineer Okoro, the chief judge. They will come for you, Musa, Okoro warned. You've embarrassed men who don't forgive humiliation. Protect your tools and yourself. Musa nodded, silent but resolute. The tools were more than steel. They were his father's legacy. Losing them would be like losing a piece of himself. The next morning, Musa arrived at the competition arena only to find his toolbox empty. Every single tool was gone. The crowd erupted with laughter, phones flashing as they filmed his stunned expression. What now, old man? Going to fix cars with prayers. The judges shook their heads in pity. Chuka grinned wickedly, certain that Musa's run was over. But Musa closed his eyes, breathed deeply, and remembered his daughter's words. Real strength isn't in what you hold. It's in how you use it. The challenge: diagnose and repair a faulty transmission in under an hour. Every contestant bent over their cars with high-tech scanners, laptops, and digital analyzers. Musa stood empty-handed. The camera zoomed in, waiting for his shame. Commentators chuckled. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Musa's luck has finally run out. But Musa crouched, placed his hand gently on the car, and listened. Every click, every grind, every vibration told a story. He didn't need machines. He was a machine. The crowd fell quiet as Musa closed his eyes and leaned closer to the gearbox. He tilted his head, listening to the rhythm, the subtle drag of the gears. Then he nodded. I know the problem, he whispered. With no tools, he borrowed scraps from the arena, an iron rod, a discarded bolt, even a shoelace from his worn boots. The audience gasped in disbelief. He's lost his mind. But within minutes, Musa tightened the final piece, wiped his hands, and turned the ignition. Vroom! The transmission purred perfectly. The arena erupted into thunderous applause. Commentators shouted over one another. Unbelievable. He rebuilt a transmission without tools. This man isn't just a mechanic, he's an artist. Even Engineer Okoro rose to his feet, clapping slowly, his eyes shining with pride. But in the shadows, the brothers seethed. Their sabotage had only made Musa more legendary. Overnight, Musa became a national sensation. News stations replayed the moment endlessly. Children in schools mimicked fixing cars with shoelaces. His name trended across social media. But fame brought danger. His garage was vandalized. Anonymous calls threatened his children. Aisha noticed strange cars parked outside their home at night. Musa carried the weight heavily, but never spoke of it. He knew the storm was only beginning. The semifinals arrived. Restore a wrecked car to full working condition in 24 hours. Contestants were given wrecks that looked beyond saving. While others plugged in computers, Musa knelt beside his car, running his hands over the body, whispering almost like he was speaking to it. "Don't give up on me," he murmured. As hours passed, competitors dropped out one by one, their fancy tools failing them. Musa's wreck, however, slowly transformed, piece by piece, into a living machine. Watching the broadcast, Segan slammed the table. "If he reaches the finals, we lose everything. Sponsors will back him, not us. Our company's image will collapse." Tun's jaw tightened. "Then we'll destroy him live. If humiliation made him famous, humiliation will also kill his fame. We'll pull strings, bribe officials, whatever it takes. On finals night, Musa will fall." The semifinal results shocked no one. Musa won with a perfect score. The crowd roared his name. Judges praised him as a future in Nigerian mechanics. But as Musa walked back to the lounge, he paused. A chilling thought crossed his mind. The louder the applause, the more dangerous the silence that followed. Somewhere in the audience, the brothers smiled, not in admiration, but in anticipation. The final stage awaited, and Musa had no idea what storm was about to break. The host stood on stage, smiling into the camera. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand finale of Fix It Nigeria. Tonight, our remaining contestants will face their ultimate test, live, in front of the entire nation." The arena shook with cheers. Spotlight swept across the stage, landing on Musa. He stood calm, hands clasped behind his back. To the world, he looked like an underdog, quiet, humble, fragile. But in his eyes, a fire burned. "Tonight," the host continued, "they won't just repair cars. They'll design, build, and present a vehicle capable of completing a high-performance track test." Gasps filled the audience. This was no ordinary challenge. Backstage, Musa inspected the pile of parts he'd been assigned. His heart sank. The components were mismatched, outdated, and in poor condition, deliberately chosen to sabotage him. Meanwhile, Chuka and others received neatly organized, top-grade parts. Musa knew instantly whose hands were behind this. The brothers. Still, Musa bowed his head in silent resolve. Even broken things deserve a chance to live again. In the VIP box, Tun and Segan leaned back smugly. Their plan was flawless. Musa would fail publicly, his legend crushed before millions. "By the time tonight ends," Tun whispered, "the joke will be complete." Segan grinned. "And our family name will stand tall again." But neither noticed Engineer Okoro, seated nearby, silently watching with suspicion in his eyes. The countdown started. Contestants dove into their workstations, welding sparks flying, power drills buzzing. Musa's corner, however, was silent. He had no shiny gadgets, no perfect parts. Instead, he worked like a sculptor, shaping, filing, and adapting each piece by hand. When bolts didn't fit, he shaved them down. When rods were too short, he extended them with clever welds. The crowd mocked him again. He's playing with scraps. He'll never finish. But a few voices shouted louder this time. "Go, Musa! Show them!" At home, Aisha held her siblings' hands tightly as they watched the broadcast. Her lips moved in silent prayer. "Papa doesn't need new tools," Kabir whispered. "He is the tool." Their mother, silent for most of the journey, finally spoke through tears. "Your father is carrying all of us with him tonight. If he stands, we stand." Midway through the build, Musa reached for his fuel injector, only to find it missing. His chest tightened. He checked again, gone. In the VIP box, Segan smirked. "I told you, a little misplacement, and he's finished." The camera zoomed in on Musa's face, hoping to capture defeat. But Musa inhaled deeply, steadying himself. Then his eyes landed on a discarded water pump from another pile. Then I'll make one. Using scrap metal, copper tubing, and rubber from an old hose, Musa constructed a makeshift injector by hand. Commentators shouted in disbelief. Is he crazy? That won't hold. But engineer Okoro leaned forward. His eyes glistened. It will hold. That man understands machines in ways textbooks can't teach. The crowd watched, tension building, as Musa's car began to take shape, not shiny, not sleek, but alive. As the timer ticked down, the arena buzzed with chaos. Chuka presented a glossy, futuristic car, his fans roaring. Other contestants displayed polished builds with high-tech finishes. And then Musa wheeled his car forward. It looked rough, patched together, its body uneven, its paint unfinished. Laughter exploded from the crowd. This scrap heap is his final project. But Musa simply bowed his head. Don't judge it by its face. Judge it by its heart. One by one, cars were tested on the track. Engines roared, tires screeched, smoke filled the air. Some cars performed brilliantly. Others broke down midway. Finally, Musa's turn came. The crowd jeered as his patched-up car rolled forward, coughing faintly. The driver strapped in, uncertain. Begin, the host announced. The car hesitated, then surged forward, not flashy, not roaring, but steady, smooth, balanced. Around the first bend, it held firm. Through the obstacle course, it gripped with precision. Gasps replaced laughter. The car wasn't just running, it was gliding. As Musa's car crossed the finish line without a single fault, the stadium erupted, not in laughter, but in thunderous applause. The judges huddled, their faces stunned. Engineer Okoro stood, microphone in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we witnessed not just engineering, but genius. Musa didn't just build a car. He built hope, resilience, and mastery out of scraps. The cameras cut to Musa's face, sweat-drenched, humble, but unbroken. For the first time, the entire nation saw him not as a joke, but as a legend. In the VIP box, the brothers sat frozen, their empire of mockery collapsing before their eyes. The judges gathered at center stage, their voices low but urgent. The tension in the arena was electric. Finally, engineer Okoro stepped forward. Tonight's winner is not the one with the flashiest car, he declared, but the one whose work proves that true skill lies not in wealth or equipment, but in mastery. He raised his hand toward Musa. The champion is Musa. The stadium erupted in thunderous applause. Musa's children leapt from their seats at home, screaming with joy. Tears ran down Aisha's face as she clutched her brothers tightly. In the VIP box, Tund and Segan sat in stunned silence. Their plan had backfired in the worst possible way. Millions of eyes were now watching Musa as the symbol of resilience, while their smirks had been captured on camera as symbols of arrogance. Suddenly, reporters swarmed the brothers. Isn't it true that your company mocked this man online? Did you try to sabotage him? Segan snapped, shoving cameras aside. But it was too late. The internet had turned against them. On social media, Musa's victory dominated every feed. The old man with old tools just humbled the rich. Skill money. Always. This is the story of Nigeria. Never count the underdog out. Clips of Musa fixing engines with shoelaces went viral. Children imitated him in classrooms. Mechanics across the country proudly held up their old tools, saying, "If Musa can, so can we." The brothers? Memes turned them into villains, mocked for their arrogance. Their empire began to crack overnight. After the show, Musa stepped outside into the cool night air. He spotted his children running toward him, tears streaming down their faces. "Papa," they cried, hugging him tightly. Musa knelt, holding them close. "I told you, dignity cannot be stolen. It can only be forgotten." And tonight we remembered. For the first time in years, his family felt not shame, but pride that burned brighter than any spotlight. Engineer Okoro approached, his stern face softened with respect. "Musa," he said, "I have judged competitions across the world. I have seen men with every advantage fail. But you," he paused, almost in awe, You're the kind of teacher this country needs." He handed Musa an envelope. Inside was a contract, an offer to lead a national program training young mechanics, with full sponsorship resources and honor. Musa's eyes widened. His father's dream, his life's struggle, it had all led here. Meanwhile, an investigation was launched into the sabotage. Leaked footage showed Chuka tampering with Musa's tools, later revealed to have been paid by the brothers. The broadcast replayed the clips nationwide. The audience gasped in fury as the truth unfolded. Sponsors withdrew from the brothers' company. Investors fled, and their empire collapsed overnight. Justice wasn't just poetic. It was public. Days later, Musa stood on a stage before thousands, receiving an award for innovation and resilience. The cameras flashed, the world watching. He held up his battered spanner, the same one mocked online, and said softly, "These tools were my father's. People laughed at them, but they built my life. Tonight, I tell every child, every worker, every dreamer, it is not the tool that makes the man. It is the man that makes the tool." The crowd erupted. Bankrupt and disgraced, Tund and Segan tried to salvage their reputation. But doors closed, phones stopped ringing, and their arrogance turned them into symbols of downfall. In a cruel twist, one of their luxury cars broke down on a busy Lagos street weeks later. Crowds gathered, laughing as they struggled helplessly. A mechanic arrived to help, one trained in Musa's new program. The irony was complete. Months passed. Musa's training program flourished. Young men and women from across the country came to learn, not just about engines, but about resilience, honor, and never underestimating oneself. The old garage that once stood in shame became a landmark of pride, a symbol of how far a man could rise from laughter to legacy. His children walked tall, no longer burdened by mockery. One evening, Musa sat outside his garage, watching the sunset paint the sky gold. His rusty tools rested beside him, not in a box, but in a glass case, preserved for generations. He whispered softly to wind, as though speaking to his late father, "They mocked me, Baba, but today they know. Tools may rust, hands may tire, but dignity outlives us all." The story closed not with Musa's victory, but with his lesson, a lesson carried on live TV, etched forever in the hearts of millions. Never underestimate the hands that work in silence. One day, they may build the future.